Hello everyone. In this video, we are going to see a concept of pass by reference with the help of an example to find the difference of two matrices. You are going to accept two matrices and you are going to subtract and then you are going to display the differences. So first we will move on to the question. A class matrix contains a two-dimensional integer array of order m comma n, that is m cross n. So m is nothing but the row and n is nothing but the column. So you are going to accept it as input, and maximum value possible for both m and n is 25. So maximum you can enter up to 25, including 25. If the value crosses 25, you have to give a criteria, that is check whether the m value or n value is above 25. If it is so, then you have to display an invalid message. Otherwise, you have to move on to the program. Design a class matrix to find the difference of two matrices. Some of the members of the class are as follows. So you can see the detail is given here. So class name is matrix. Then you got three data members. First one is an array, that is double dimensional array, ARR, stores the matrix element. M, integer to store the number of rows. N, integer to store the number of columns. So you can see that in the question they say you should have three matrices. One is the A matrix, then B matrix, then you are going to display the difference in C matrix. But in data members you can see only one variable. You are going to see how to use it for all the three. Since we are going to use objects in this program, you can have the same variable, you can use it for multiple number of times. Okay. Next is you are going to see member functions. You got a constructor, that is parameterized constructor with parameters int mm and then int nn, which initialize the size of the matrix m equal to mm and then n equal to nn. That is, the data members is being initialized using these parameters. Void fill array to enter the elements of the matrix. So you are going to have an input method, that is fill array, where you are going to input the elements of the matrix. Then you have a function matrix submat matrices. This is something new to you. So here you are going to pass the object, not the values. Here you are going to pass the object. That's why you call it as pass by reference. So what you are going to do here is subtract the current object from the matrix of the parameters object and return the resulting object. So what you can notice here is you should have three objects. One object is the parameter, one object is the current object which has been called, okay, and the final object is the resultant object. That means you are going to return an object to the main function. So you should have three objects here. You are going to see in detail that. Void display to display the matrix element. So you are going to specify all these details including the methods. Define the main function to create an object to and call the functions accordingly to enable the task. So you are going to create objects to enable these things to happen. So you are going to see how to do in BlueJ. So in BlueJ used an import package, Java package, that is Java util, and importing the scanner class. Now you got a class name matrix which has been declared. And you got three data members, ARR, that is double dimensional array, and then you have two normal variables m and n to store the rows and columns. Okay, these are the data members which is given the question. Now you should have an parameterized constructor to get the parameters from the calling function. Okay, that will be stored in mm and nn. That will use to initialize the data members, m equal to mm, n equal to nn. Okay, this is what given in the question, and then you are going to use array to give the length. Here normally you can declare it in two halves. First half is general declaration. You are going to declare the array. Here you are going to define the array. That means how many rows and how many columns are declared here. So once you know the values, m and n values, which is got from the input from the user, then you can utilize that to initialize this. Okay. Next you are going to have fill array. This is what you already know. You are going to input using a scanner object. So SC equal to new scanner system.in. So this SC object you use to input the elements from the keyboard, and then it will be stored into the array. So you should have a nested loop Okay, so since it's a matrix, you should have nested loop, and then you are going to store the values ARR of ij equal to SE dot next in. So each and every element is stored row wise. That's why we have outer loop will be executed once, and then inner loop will be executed a number of times. Then go back to the outer loop and execute for the next time. So I value will be the row and j value will be the column. So obviously every time it will execute row wise. So after inputting all the elements, that is the next statement, that is matrix submat matrix A. So what you discussed in the question is you should have three matrices here, that is three objects here. So matrix is the class name. Okay, that's what you got it here, because you're going to return the object. So if you don't have this matrix, instead of that if you have void, then you're going to display in this method itself. Okay, here you don't have void, so you're going to return something that is nothing but an object. You're going to reference, okay, with the objects, and then you got a class name, that is it's an method name submat, and then you have an object here, that is matrix A. Okay, you are going to get the object as the parameter. Okay, and then you are going to have a new object which is being created. So matrix A equal to new matrix, and then you are going to initialize the matrix with the m and n value. Okay, now inside this you can see an nested loop. Okay, so to access all the elements you are going to use a nested loop. So this is very where you are going to do this. See, this C dot ARR of ij is the resultant matrix, equal to A dot ARR of ij is the parameterized matrix. Okay, subtracted with ARR of ij. Here you don't have an object because you call it as a current object. So since it is a current object, no need to specify that. Other two things you have to specify: C dot ARR ij equal to A dot ARR of ij minus ARR of ij. So this will subtract A, okay, that is B from A, that is the current object from the parameterized object. That's what the question says. Okay, and then it will store it into the variable, okay, with the object C. Now after completing this subtraction, you are going to return C. You are going to return only the object. Okay, so that will be returned, and then in display again you are going to use nested loop, and then you are going to display it as matrix form with rows and columns. So you are using system out print ARR of ij, and then if you want, you can leave a space or you can leave tab space, and then after the inner loop you can break the line so that it look like a matrix. Okay, that's the reason you are using this. Okay, now very important part is this main function. So here again I am using a scanner object because you are going to input some values here. There is nothing but the rows and columns. So enter the number of rows and columns. Here you can see I have declared a local variable row equal to sc.nextInt, and then call equal to sc.nextInt. Both are integers. It's shown different variable. Reason is to know that it is both are different. Okay, you are going to pass only the values to the constructor. Okay. Now as per the question, it should check whether the row is less than or equal to 25. If it is greater than that, if it is false, then you should display an error message saying that the rows or columns cannot be more than 25 and stop. Okay, if it is lesser than rows and the columns are lesser than 25, then you are going to do this. So it's very important to understand what you are doing here. So first thing is you are going to create the first object. Okay, after rows and columns input, you are going to create first object matrix A equal to new matrix row comma columns. Okay, so this row and column will pass on to the parameterized constructor. Okay, here A matrix will be defined. Okay, now you can see that memory location is allotted for A matrix. Okay, for this. Okay, new object. And then you are going to enter the elements of the first array. Okay, so you can see this, since the memory space is allotted for A, object A, you are going to fill the elements. Okay, that matrix of A will be filled with elements. So A dot fill array will call off this fill array of method, which is used to input the values. Okay. So now the A array is ready. Now the same thing has to be done for B array. You are going to create matrix B equal to new matrix row column. So parameters constructor will be called and define all the data members for B matrix, and then you're going to input the values of B, that is object B. You're going to call fill array, so that it will have a separate location where you're going to store another set of elements, that is it will be a separate array. Okay, so you have A array and B array. Okay, that is actually it is A and B are objects. Okay, just calling it as array so that you will understand. Okay, you will have separate locations for a set of member methods, variables. Okay, data members, you can say data members, and then separate space for B array, that is B object. Okay, so you will have all the data separately into that. Now you are going to create the third array, that is to store the resultant. You are going to create another array. You are not going to input anything. So C, and then you are going to call this parameterized constructor by passing row and column. So this will be ready so that whatever you return back from the submat function will be stored into this object, because you are going to you are going to send back the object. Okay, not the arrays. You are going to send the return the object back to the main function. So you are being ready with a new object, that is C, which is also a matrix. So you are going to declare that, and then it is ready here in the main function, and then you are going to call this submat by using this current object, that is B. Okay, so B is the current object and the A is the parameterized object. So you are going to use B dot submat A. Now what happens? A will have some values, B will have some values that will be passed here. Okay, to the submat. Okay, A will have the value separately, and then the current object, that is nothing but ARR of ij, that is B. Okay, so A minus B, that will be done, the operation subtraction will be done, and then you are going to store back into the resultant variable, and then you will be returning the object C. So that will be stored back in the object C which is created. So the object C here and the object C here is both are different. Okay, you can use any other object here. You don't have any problem because both are not related. Same way, the object you pass here, okay, A, may not be the same here. Okay, it may be anything, any other object. Here also you are not going to actually passing the object. You are passing only the reference. So you can use any object you want. You can use OB1 and OB2. Okay, OB3, anything. Okay, because this is locally declared. Okay, and that is you are going to pass the reference to that object. You are not going to actually pass the object. Okay, and then finally, after getting the resultant matrix, you are going to display it. So you are going to call C dot display. So what happens is it will move on to the display method, and it will display the elements in matrix form. Suppose if you want to display all the matrix, that is you want to display the original matrix A and B one by one, and then finally the resultant matrix, it is very simple. You can write A dot display, B dot display, and C dot display. You can try out and see. So A dot display, you can just give a message A matrix, and B dot display you can give a message B matrix, and then finally resultant matrix for C dot display. So you can display one below the other. You can try that and see. Okay, now you have, that's all about the program. You are going to try this. You are going to compile. So no syntax errors. You are going to execute this. So I am going to just give 3 cross 3 so that it will be easy for me to type. So I am just giving some values. Say I will give some greater values, 34 and 26. Second row I am giving 65, 49, 28. Third row I am giving 59, 37, 17. Now the first matrix is completed. Now second matrix I am giving some lesser values. If you greater value, you will get minus sign, that is negative values. It doesn't matter, you can give whichever way you want. So I am giving say 35, 27, then 17. Okay, then I am giving 45. Okay, and then I am giving 23, and then here I am going to give little greater value, say 34. Okay, and now we are going to give the 34 and 56 and 16. Okay, so 2 matrix has been entered. Now you can see the resultant matrix is in displayed. So say 54 minus 35 is 19, 34 minus 27 is 7. So you can see it is the difference between the A matrix and B matrix has been displayed on the screen. Okay, same way, suppose if you are giving some values above 25, say row value is say 28, then B value is say 4. Now we can see that error message. Okay, the rows or columns cannot be more than 25. So you are not going to execute more than this. You are going to stop the program. Okay, so hope you understood what it is. Okay, we can try out some different programs based on this type. Okay, it may come in your board exams for your array program. So one array program will be there. Obviously, we will have one number program and one string program and an array program. So array program may be of this type. So you should get familiar with this type of programming. So that's why you want to try out. Okay, so hope you understood this. We'll meet you in the next video. Till then, thank you.